Have any questions?
100. No, I'm playing. All right. So, welcome to another episode of Connect the Politic. We're here with a special guest. Please introduce yourself by telling us your name, where you're currently located, and your favorite snack.
I'm Joenal Castma, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And my favorite snack, I would have to say, would be probably Lay's chips. That's kind of what I snack on, probably late nights. But I'm not much of a snacker, surprisingly.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, I'm not much of a snacker. But if I had to pick one, it would be
Lace.
the classic Lay's chips.
Nice, nice. What's your fondest memory from childhood?
I My fondest memory from childhood would probably be being on the soccer field and scoring goals. I mean, I remember there was one field I would go to particularly. It would be in my it was actually at my middle school, and I would go there to train because that was the same place I kind of dreamed and more importantly went to just and every Sunday I would go and just score goals in the same two goals. It was awesome. It was so I enjoyed just going there and scoring goals repeatedly. So that was my best moments, man.
Was this in what you were practicing, or this is in games, or?
So that's the thing. It was a bit of both. So I would go there to practice like during the week when I had when I had
Uh,
time, and then on the weekends I'd go play games, and I'd like it was almost like I was scoring the goals that I envisioned myself scoring in practices. So then I'd go on the weekends and I'd like, all right, I scored that way, and now I'm going to score. And
uh,
actually, I would actually score a lot of goals. I mean, that way, but
wow, yeah,
I
that's
enjoyed it.
good. Yeah, yeah, nice,
Enjoyed
nice.
it.
So, how do you think your childhood helped groom you into the person you are today?
So adversity, I'd say adversity was probably the biggest one. I dealt with, growing up in Long Island, predominantly white area when I was young, and I had some bad experiences. I had some experiences that made me rethink my life, and more importantly, made me want to just strive for so much. And that when you couple that with parents that were from the Caribbean, specifically Haiti, and my parents not having much, so I would just kind of pull that together and just want the best, and it shaped me into every year I'd go to Haiti and I would just see how much kids do not have, and it made me so grateful for everything I did have.
Yeah,
So that every year I'd go back, I would actually just try to work harder and harder and harder because my psyche would always remind me of how much kids did not have in Haiti. So then it shaped me into someone who just always wanted to work, 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 work because I was given the opportunity, and I always had the opportunity in front of me because of all the kids that did not have those opportunities. And when I was in Haiti every single year, so I truly felt blessed in that manner.
yeah, yeah. That's good. Name something in your life that you're not willing to live without.
My kids. I absolutely. I mean, I love my boys, man. I mean, I'm not willing to live without them, and I mean, I go to work every day, but the purpose of me working is to come back and to just spend time with my kids and to go in the backyard and play soccer. So, that's an easy question for me. I'm
Yeah,
not willing to live without my kids, man. I love them dearly.
nice. What's your favorite thing to do for self care?
So for self-care, I'd probably say it's actually to just go in the yard, and whether it's in the driveway, whether it's in the backyard, and we just dribble balls, we juggle a little bit, we have like little competitions with my kids. That and sometimes a little bit of running because sometimes I don't always get the full fitness out of dribbling and juggling in the yard. So sometimes I'll go for a run, and it it keeps me sane. You know, I used to play a lot, but I just don't. With all the work I do, and more importantly, I'm not willing to sacrifice the time I spend with my kids, so I don't get the fitness that I used to get out of playing, and the satisfaction out of playing. So, but I prefer spending that time with my kids. So I would probably say it's just doing a lot of exercises and activities with the boys in the yard.
Nice. What would you say? What motivates you?
Um, Motivation. I kind of love this one. You know, I know I touched on it earlier, but you know, I always like to think I'm internally driven. I'm driven to succeed. I'm driven, you know, to more importantly, just want the best and have my kids. I always look at it this way. You know, I always wanted to be better than my parents. And today I want my kids to be better than me.
Mm.
So when my son, I'll never forget my son saying, "Dad, you play professional." So that means I'm gonna play professional. That made my life, and take that one step further. We were somewhere and he was getting coached by someone. And the coach at the end of the session was like a one-on-one quick session with he asked my son, he goes, "Who's your favorite professional player?" And I never thought my son knew this. And my son goes, he looks over and he goes, "My dad." I'm like, whoa. I was like, I mean, that was probably the biggest joy in my life, man, when he just
That's
looked
good.
over and he goes, "My dad." And actually, the coach had no idea that I played professional.
Oh,
So I'm,
really?
I'm, I'm watching the session. I'm obviously mentally, internally critiquing his
Of
session
course, of
in a
course,
good way.
of
So
course.
I would never say anything. But I thought he did tremendous activities. So he had no idea. But when my son turned around, so the guy goes, "I didn't know you were a professional player." He goes, "Where did you play?" So he starts asking me questions. So now I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, now this guy's gonna, watch what he does every week that I show up
exactly,
now. But
exactly.
I was so to add to that, it's to be that role model for my boys, because I think, you know, black males in this world don't have
Yeah,
enough positive and just driven role models. And I think I'm my son's role models as I am for other African American kids. I'm their role models as well, and I try to push, extend myself to go be a speaker, and again, stretch myself as much as I can to show that there could be so much successful black guys in this world, but more importantly, young, and be diverse. It doesn't just have to be like soccer. It could be your day job. It could be, some of the other financial things. Like, I try to teach my kids about stocks, and, so they're not just in this world where they just think about one thing. So I just try to, I mean, I don't know if I have a true one thing that really motivates me.
yeah, no, that's good.
It's just it's a lot. It's a lot,
Yeah,
and I lose sleep, and I'm motivated for that reason, because I always say, I'll sleep, you know, in the end.
yeah,
But I work hard, and I like to be a perfectionist for the people that are surrounding me, and my friends. My friends motivate me a lot as well.
yeah.
So, and my wife, of course, can't forget that.
Nice, nice. What do you do in your professional life, and how did you get to where you are?
So my professional life is a bit interesting. I started out. Originally I'm a math major, so I started out as a business analyst, and I was doing a lot of data work, a lot of number crunching. I love numbers, and I kind of got a little, after 7 years of that, I got a little. I'm not gonna say bored, because I love numbers. I just said this doesn't truly fulfill me. So when I say fulfill me, I like to make a difference in everyone's life. So I said, okay, I'm going to just take a step back, figure out if I want to keep doing this for the next 20 years, or do I want to actually do something that's going to make an impact in others. So I left that, and I started working for a nonprofit organization called Hospital Albert Schweitzer, where I was working for a hospital in Haiti, and I was a major gift officer, raising money to help make a difference in saving lives in Haiti and providing better health care. And there, I couple that with the work I do on the side with soccer and changing the lives in kids and getting them scholarships, and kids that can't afford them, get them the opportunity to play soccer, and to more importantly, not just play soccer, but how can I help them get a full scholarship or a scholarship of some sort so they can further their education, which would in turn make them successful individuals in the world. So those two things are pretty much my professional world, at least currently. I'm in a slight transition in that daily work, trying to scale to a different nonprofit nonprofit organization, but it was essentially be the same thing,
Yeah.
where I can continue to make an impact in lives in the U.S. So for marginalized individuals. So
Yeah.
currently working on that right now. So we'll see where that goes. But
Yep.
you kind of see where my motivation is. You know?
Nice, nice. What's one thing you would love to learn that you haven't gotten to yet?
It's a great question. Um, I don't know if I would probably say math, like understanding, and I do understand it well, but sometimes I'm afraid of risk. But understanding the stock market a little bit more, because again, I go back to, finding ways to, because I do know friends of mine that have made, have had so much success in it. But I also don't believe in putting everything in there and losing everything. So I think it's diversifying, but more importantly, teaching my own kids and other kids that I deal with on how to manage money and how to manage money well.
Mhm.
Um, so that would be one thing if if I had to say.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, that's a tough question.
yeah.
Tough
No, no,
question.
no, that's an interesting answer. Um, I mean, I let me know. I can help in that direction. I've started investment clubs, service fund manager. I invest. I'm an investor myself, um, and it's actually something I'm very interested. I'm actually in the process of working on a curriculum for kids. Um, uh, uh, it's not just focused on investing, but it's the goal of the curriculum is to uh, enrich kids' relationship with money.
Yes.
Because I find that the psychological aspect of money is a tougher task to conquer than the basic mechanics of understanding what debt is. And folks, you can understand all the jargon and the language and what things mean and this and that, but the psychological barriers are tougher. And so this is a program that I'm working on, which is um, tackles all those things and start at a young age, obviously, to help. Because like anything, if you start practicing and um, becoming comfortable with it early
Yes.
in your adult life, when it really starts to matter, this also could go into the discussion we had about, training
Yeah.
in the game earlier. By the time it starts to matter, you would be, it'll just be another aspect of your life. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that later.
And then thank you for that. And then the other thing I would say is finding a way to, I've always said I want to coach a professional team at some point.
Mhm.
So, I'm not afraid to take that leap, but, obviously, again, there's sacrifices that come with it. And, I always try to teach people there's nothing you can't do in life. You just got to set your mind at it. But I also think we're in a world where, you know, I may have to prove what I can do a little bit more
Mhm.
than others, and that's okay because I'm always going to do that. I'm a absolute worker when it comes to things like that. So um, I want to coach a professional team one day. And
Nice,
that's
nice. Can you think of any advice that you would give your younger self?
my younger self. Probably, um, I think anyone would say this. I mean, invest earlier. But if you ask people that know me, they're like, are you kidding me? You're way ahead. So it's like, friends of mine tell me that. They're like, you think like 10 years ahead. But I'm like, no, I don't think I think early enough. But I'd say to invest a little earlier. But to not give up on one or two things that soon. Sometimes you run into things that it's not that you fail at them, it's just you haven't succeeded at them right away. And sometimes you're trying to make a decision on, should I just move on, or should I just keep plugging away and keep plugging away? And that's tough, because when you have family members that have never experienced it, you truly don't have anyone that you can kind of lean on to say, what would you do here?
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's trying to, and I think now that I've lived it, I can tell my kids, listen, you know what, you're going to fail sometimes, and that's okay. Just keep plugging away. Try it again. You're going to fail again. Try it again. Don't stop. And I find that I do that in the business world, that I don't give up on things. But sometimes I think when I was younger, I think I could have pushed a lot more to reach the level that I wanted to reach as far as on the soccer side. But again, I just didn't have, I don't know, I guess I didn't have the proper guidance, and that's okay. That's okay. But let me tell you, I'm blessed no matter what. I'm blessed. So,
nice. What would you say has been the toughest thing you've had to tackle, and what helped you get through it?
uh, the toughest thing is probably racism. It's surprise. That's the hardest thing I think I've ever had to deal with. And again, I touched on earlier that, growing up on Long Island, I've dealt with cops. Cops. I did nothing wrong. And I look at the stories where, black guys are getting killed for absolutely doing nothing wrong. And sometimes I think back and I'm like, that could have been me, because I've been in that position. I've been in a position. It's hard conversations to have, right? I've been in a position when they've pinned me to the ground for absolutely no reason at all. It's not like I was running. I was, robbing. I mean, so I think that's the toughest thing I've ever had to deal with. And then as an adult, going to Poland and playing soccer at a professional level, and still still having, just having certain words, thrown at me again, now as an adult. So now I'm like, so, it shows you over the course of 15, 20 years that nothing has changed. And actually, my time in Poland, I think it was even harder. But then I had to make a choice on whether I wanted to go back to Poland, and that was the reason why I decided not to go back, because of my own safety.
Yeah.
So it was tough.
Yeah, and what would you say helped you get through your your complexities in dealing with racist incidents, or just racism as a whole? What has helped you get through it? Or maybe you're not
It's
through it. I mean, maybe that's another aspect.
I'm not gonna say I'm okay. Because I like to think, because I'm a little educated, I understand not everyone thinks the same. In life, I am surrounded by amazing people, from many different cultures. I'm surrounded by the most amazing people. It doesn't matter what culture they come from. But I also understand that there is a segment of the population, across the world, that does have a different view. And I'm educated enough to separate the two. And I just say, you know what, if someone wants to think that way, by all means, go ahead. I treat people the right way. I pray every day. And I have a support system of friends that I know that go through this stuff as well. And that support system of friends actually helps me deal with it. And sometimes we talk about it. We actually make jokes about it. And when we make the jokes about it, it helps me reflect that I'm not the only one living it.
Yeah.
And sometimes what I think about is my kids will have to go through it too. And I have those conversations early, and um, you know, it's never too early to have those conversations, but I know, when my boys get older, now I have to have the conversation of how to act when you're around the police officer, how to act if you get pulled over, how to act it's scary that you have to have these conversations. It really is, man,
Yeah.
because again, it was that close to happening for me,
Yeah.
where I know I could have disappeared like that.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah. If you won the lottery tomorrow, and I'm talking about the big lottery, not a scratch off, but a couple hundred millions or even a couple billions, who are some of the people that you would want to give some money to?
I'm not gonna say it would be. I can't name the people, even though in my head I know who they are. so so
'Cause- hold on. You
so
can't
there.
you can't do it because you're afraid when this goes out, they're gonna hold you to it.
So I will say this. They're absolutely
Oh
my
man.
close friends. They're the people that I've essentially built relationships over the course of my lifetime. Um, but one of the things I will always ask them, if I gave this person $2 million, I'm going to say, all I ask is for one thing, and that is for whatever portion you want, but a portion of it has to go to some nonprofit, some way of helping a marginalized community of some sort. Whether it's building fields, whether it's building basketball courts, whether it's building, I mean, parks, swings, play. I mean, it has to go to a community where some of these communities don't have the young kids don't have enough. And maybe I'm fine with things going to like a STEM program, and I would ask them to be to report back to me as far as where that money is going, and because that would be the only thing I would ask for, because I think I don't think my wife and I were having this discussion earlier today, and we were talking about today is the day that they made the decision on New York schools not reopening. So we were talking about the number of homeless kids in New York City,
Yeah.
and it's frightening, because my heart goes out to them, because now I just don't know what's going to happen. I think it's just going to it's obviously it's undetermined, but I'm afraid what's going to happen to some of those kids, because they rely on the school system, they
Yeah.
rely on structure, they
Yeah.
rely on friends, there's just so much they rely on. So we were having that discussion today. So but to finalize that question, those friends that have been always there for me, believe me, you're going to get a piece.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, all right. For the final question, how do you define success?
uh, that's always success for me. Success is defined differently by everyone, but again, the way I define success is, from the time I'm a young kid, how I develop year to year, um, I mean, success could happen in a day. Success could happen. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I think success for one person could happen in a 10-year span, but success for someone else could happen in 2 days, you know? So it really depends. Again, I talk about the stock market. If you get in at the right time and tomorrow you find you just, the stock market absolutely kind of rallies, and that could be just an example of one way to succeed. But then success is also giving back, having the ability to see that, and giving back to society. So I don't know if I have a solid answer for success. For me, I'm successful when I can do all those things, to be
Right.
honest with you. For one particular thing, for me, I'm not content with. So I'm content making a difference. I'm content giving back. I'm content, continuing to succeed. I'm content making sure my kids see that I'm successful, and then they can replicate that. So there's just so many things that define success for me. Um, so yeah, sum it up that way, I guess.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, we connected, we politicked, and we will definitely do this again in the near future. So thanks, Joenal, for being a part of this.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I appreciate I appreciate the interview, and clearly you have made a huge impact in my life.
Yeah,
So till this very day. So thank you for that as well.
thank you.